No one expected it to turn into chaos. What started as a casual jab on Twitter spiraled into one of the wildest sports moments of all time, a race that wasn't supposed to be serious, a showdown that wasn't supposed to have stakes. But when it was over, some called it a robbery, others called it genius. It all began on March 10th, 2020. LeBron James, fresh off a dominant game, was lounging in the locker room, scrolling through his phone. The usual post-game chatter flooded his feed, but one post stood out. A clip of Usain Bolt sprinting at full speed. Caption: "Still the fastest." Simple, direct, but to LeBron it felt like a challenge. Maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe it was just ego. But LeBron, grinning, fired off a tweet that changed everything. "I could outrun you while dribbling with one hand tied. Easy work." Within minutes, notifications exploded. Fans picked sides, debating speed versus skill. Then, Usain responded, "Bet. Bring the ball. I'll smoke you blind. Name the spot." It was on. By morning, the sports world was in a frenzy. Analysts debated who had the edge. Miami was chosen as the battleground, a custom hybrid track built just for them. But neither LeBron nor Usain had any idea how insane things were about to get. The tweet wasn't just banter anymore, it was a full-blown event. Within hours, sports networks were covering it like a championship final. Experts dissected every angle. LeBron's a freak athlete, but running with a ball? That's different. Usain's got the raw speed, but can he handle game day pressure? The debate was endless, and neither man backed down. By the next day, sponsors wanted in. Brands lined up, eager to slap their names on what was now being called the Great Clash. Nike, Gatorade, even ESPN. They saw the numbers, and they knew this was bigger than a joke. LeBron and Usain weren't just racing anymore. Now there were cameras, a venue, a trophy, even a $10,000 charity donation on the line. What started as a playful challenge had turned into a global spectacle. Miami was the chosen location, a modified track designed for one event only. Half basketball court, half Olympic-grade sprinting lane, built to test two completely different skill sets. LeBron had a team, his trainers, nutritionists, and a personal DJ. Usain? He showed up with a duffel bag and a bottle of water, grinning like he was already celebrating. By the time they landed, thousands of fans were waiting. Journalists swarmed, looking for sound bites. But when the two finally met face-to-face at the venue, the energy changed. This wasn't just a race anymore, it was a statement, and only one of them would walk away a legend. The Miami Heat was relentless, but neither LeBron nor Usain seemed to care. They stood at center field, locking eyes, the crowd buzzing with anticipation. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every subtle movement. Usain's smirk, LeBron's casual but calculated bounce with the ball. Neither wanted to be the first to break the silence. LeBron finally grinned. "You sure you want to do this, Bolt? I'm 6'9", 250. This is pure smoke." Usain laughed, stretching his arms behind his back. "Bro, you're built like a tank, but I'm a fighter jet. This is over before you blink." The energy shifted. The playful banter was fun, but the stakes were real now. Fans screamed from the stands. Social media was going insane. Every major sports channel had gone live. Then, as if the universe needed more chaos, Drake, yes, Drake, jumped in, placing a $100,000 bet on LeBron. Twitter went nuclear. LeBron's got this in the bag. Bolt is about to humble this man. Is this even fair? Fair or not, it was happening. And neither of them was backing down. The official stepped forward with the rule board. 100 meters. Usain runs clean. LeBron must dribble the ball the entire way. First across wins. LeBron nodded. Usain stretched his legs. The countdown had begun, and neither of them had any idea what was coming next. Just when everything seemed set, a voice from the crowd cut through the noise. "Add a twist." At first it was just one kid holding a sign, but then others joined in, chanting. The idea spread like wildfire. Fans weren't here for just any race. They wanted chaos, something legendary. The event organizers huddled, a few murmurs, a few nods. Then the official turned back to LeBron and Usain, a sly grin on his face. "We're adding an obstacle at the 50-meter mark, a hurdle, non-negotiable." LeBron let out a short laugh. "A hurdle? What, you trying to help Bolt out?" Usain just cracked his knuckles. "I don't care what you put in front of me." LeBron, ever the showman, shrugged. "Fine, but let's add one more thing. If I dunk mid-race, I get to finish without dribbling." The official hesitated. But the fans? They went insane. This was no longer just speed versus speed. It was now a game of strategy. Usain raised an eyebrow. You really think that'll help you? LeBron smirked. Guess we're about to find out. The stage was set. The sun was blazing. The countdown to the greatest and most unpredictable race in history had begun. The stadium was alive, buzzing with an energy that felt almost unreal. The race wasn't just a test of speed anymore. It was a challenge of creativity, endurance, and pure ego. LeBron bounced the ball, laser-focused. Usain shook out his arms, completely relaxed. Two goats, standing side by side, each convinced they were about to prove something to the world. The official raised his hand. Racers ready? The crowd held its breath. LeBron crouched slightly, ball balanced in his palm. He was 6'9", built for power. But today, he needed finesse. Dribbling for a full 100 meters, leaping a hurdle, and maybe, just maybe, pulling off a mid-race dunk to bypass the rule? Impossible. But that's what made it legendary. Usain stood tall, hands loose at his sides. He wasn't worried. He had spent his entire life training for this exact moment. Well, minus the part where an NBA superstar tried to race him while bouncing a basketball. The countdown began. 3. LeBron tapped the ball once. The sound echoed. 2. Usain rocked back onto his heels, ready to explode forward. 1. The air felt like it stopped. Then, the whistle blew, and in an instant, the race that would break the internet was underway. The second the whistle blew, Usain was gone. His body coiled like a spring, then snapped forward in a blur of speed. The crowd gasped. He covered the first 10 meters in what felt like a heartbeat. LeBron? He had power, strength, but he was not built to explode off the line like Bolt. Still, he moved. Ball glued to his palm, he pushed forward with massive strides, bouncing the ball rhythmically as his sneakers slammed against the track. The key wasn't just speed. He had to maintain control. One bad bounce, one fumble, it was over. The first 20 meters were brutal. Usain was already widening the gap, moving like pure lightning. LeBron's face tightened. He wasn't just losing, he was getting smoked. But he wasn't panicking. He adjusted his dribble, switching to longer, more powerful bounces, syncing them with his steps. His years of muscle memory kicked in, his body reacting automatically. The crowd roared, sensing the tiny shift. By 30 meters, Usain was still ahead, but LeBron was starting to find his rhythm. He wasn't running a normal sprint. He wasn't trying to beat Bolt in raw speed. He was playing a different game. And at the 50-meter mark, the point where everything changed, LeBron had a plan. The hurdle loomed ahead. Usain barely noticed it. His body moved on instinct, legs driving forward like well-oiled pistons. The moment he reached the 50-meter mark, he effortlessly soared over the hurdle, clearing it with a precision that made it look easy. The crowd erupted. It was textbook, flawless. But LeBron? LeBron had decisions to make. He was closing the distance, but that hurdle was a problem. If he slowed down to dribble around it, the race was over. If he tried to leap while bouncing the ball, disaster waiting to happen. But then, he remembered his own rule. If I dunk mid-race, I finish without dribbling. And that's when he saw it. A hoop, positioned right behind the hurdle, 10 feet high. He didn't know if the organizers had set it up as a joke or if fate itself had handed him an opening. But it didn't matter. This was his moment. Instead of slowing, he exploded forward. With one final bounce, he scooped the ball up, planted his feet, and took off. The crowd lost their minds. LeBron wasn't just clearing the hurdle. He was dunking mid-race. The ball soared. The rim shook. And in that split second, as Usain glanced back in disbelief, the entire race changed. Boom! The rim rattled as the ball thundered through the net. The entire stadium erupted, people jumping out of their seats, mouths hanging open in shock. LeBron had done the impossible. He didn't just clear the hurdle. He turned it into a highlight reel. For a split second, the entire race froze in time. Even Usain, mid-stride, flicked his eyes back, his usual laser focus momentarily broken by what he had just witnessed. LeBron landed, feet hitting the ground with a heavy thud. His rule had been triggered. No more dribbling. Now it was a pure sprint. He charged forward, arms pumping, full speed mode activated. This was a different beast. No basketball slowing him down, no technical restrictions, just raw, explosive power. And suddenly, the gap started closing. Usain had been cruising with a comfortable lead. But now, LeBron was gaining. The crowd's energy shifted from amazement to pure chaos. Wait a minute, can he actually catch him? 50 meters had already passed. Now it was a 40-meter dash to the finish. Usain clenched his jaw. He wasn't about to let this become an upset. But LeBron, he was hunting him down. A race that had seemed over just seconds ago had turned into something completely unpredictable. And now, the world was watching. The final stretch was here. 40 meters to go. Usain was still ahead, but LeBron was charging like a runaway train. No more dribbling. No more basketball slowing him down. It was just him and Bolt, foot to foot, pure athleticism. And the unthinkable was happening. He was closing the gap. The crowd had gone from cheering to screaming, barely able to process what they were witnessing. There's no way. No one catches Bolt. But LeBron was built different. Years of sprinting down the court, training his legs for bursts of speed, it was all kicking in. Usain glanced to his right, seeing the impossible. LeBron was there. The dunk had been a game changer. That split-second Bolt lost looking back, that tiny break in his momentum, it was costing him. Now, with 30 meters left, LeBron was just half a step behind. The stadium felt like it might collapse. Bolt leaned forward, pushing his body past its limits. LeBron grit his teeth, arms pumping like pistons. 20 meters. Bolt was still ahead, but barely. LeBron was running out of time, but there was one move left, one last gamble. And as they reached the final 10 meters, he went for it. The dive. The finish line was right there. Usain still had the lead, but barely. LeBron was pushing his body past every limit, matching Bolt stride for stride in a way no one thought possible. The crowd was losing their minds. 10 meters left. Bolt gritted his teeth. This was supposed to be easy. He was the fastest man alive. But now, he had a 6'9" freight train breathing down his neck. 5 meters. LeBron knew he was out of time. His legs were at max speed, but Bolt was still just half a step ahead. And then, in a moment that no one saw coming, LeBron launched himself forward. It wasn't just a stumble. It wasn't just a lunge. He full-on dove. His massive frame soared through the air like a wide receiver reaching for a game-winning touchdown. Arms stretched, chest forward. The finish line was inches away. Boom! LeBron hit the ground, skidding across the track, dust kicking up behind him. The stadium went dead silent. The clock stopped. The cameras zoomed in. Who crossed first? Bolt had run through at full speed. LeBron had thrown his entire body past the line. The officials rushed to check the slow-motion replay. The world held its breath. Because in that moment, nobody knew who had won. For the first time since the race began, everything stopped. The deafening cheers, the roaring crowd, the frantic commentary. Silence. All eyes locked on the giant stadium screen, where the slow-motion replay played frame by frame. Usain had stormed through the finish line at full speed. No hesitation, no break in his form. Pure precision. But LeBron, he had dove like his life depended on it. His entire frame stretched forward, his chest colliding with the line as his body slammed onto the track. And in the replay, it was impossible to tell. From one angle, Bolt looked like he had it. From another, LeBron's chest had maybe, just maybe, crossed first. The stadium erupted into chaos. Commentators shouted over each other. Twitter exploded. Fans online were already taking sides. That was the smartest move in sports history. Nah, diving is weak. Bolt won clean. LeBron literally flew. He deserves this. The officials were huddled together, checking the freeze-frame stills. Every millisecond mattered. LeBron, still on the ground, sat up, breathing hard, staring at the scoreboard. Usain, hands on his knees, shook his head, catching his breath. That was crazy. And then, the decision was made. The official raised the mic, the stadium on edge. And when he spoke, his words sent shockwaves through the sports world. The official cleared his throat. The stadium was silent. The world held its breath. Then, the words that no one expected. By a margin of 0.02 seconds, the winner is... A dramatic pause. Usain Bolt. The stadium exploded. Fans cheered, some booed, others just stood there, jaws on the floor. Bolt raised his arms, grinning. He had done what he always did. Win. But this wasn't just another victory. He turned to LeBron, shaking his head, still in disbelief. LeBron sat on the track, breathing hard, sweat dripping. For a moment, he just stared at the screen, watching the frame-by-frame footage of his dive. It had been that close. He slapped the ground once, then pushed himself up to his feet. The crowd watched, waiting for his reaction. Would he argue? Would he protest? Instead, LeBron walked over to Usain, grinning, and held out his hand. Bolt chuckled, shaking his head before grabbing LeBron's hand and pulling him into a hug. Respect. It didn't matter who won. What they had just done would be talked about for years. But then, just as the celebration was settling, LeBron leaned in and said something into Bolt's ear. Usain pulled back, surprised. Then a slow smile spread across his face. LeBron turned to the cameras. "Run it back." The crowd went ballistic. This wasn't over. The stadium was still shaking from the announcement. Usain had won. But LeBron? He wasn't done. His challenge, "Run it back," sent the place into an entirely new frenzy. Usain raised an eyebrow, wiping sweat from his forehead. "You sure about that, big man?" LeBron grinned. "Nah, I'm positive." The commentators lost their minds. Hold on. Did LeBron just demand an immediate rematch? This is insane. Does he really think he can take Bolt in a second race? Social media exploded. Some fans cheered, ready for more. Others laughed, saying LeBron was delusional. But Bolt? He looked at the cameras, the roaring crowd, and then back at LeBron. And then, with that classic Usain Bolt smirk, he nodded. "All right, let's do it." The place went absolutely wild. Officials scrambled. The event organizers hadn't planned for this, but there was no way they were stopping it now. Two of the greatest athletes in the world, both in peak adrenaline mode, about to go head-to-head again. No tricks, no hurdles, no hoops, just one last race. And this time, no one knew what would happen. The stadium was still shaking from the rematch announcement. No sponsors, no pre-race build-up, just pure adrenaline. This was sudden death. One race, no gimmicks. LeBron wiped sweat from his face, stretching out his arms. His body was exhausted, but his mind? Laser-focused. Usain bounced on his toes, rolling his shoulders. He had nothing to prove. He had already won. But something about this moment, this challenge, made him want to go again. The crowd was louder than ever. Fans chanted. Cameras zoomed in. Twitter broke. A new official stepped forward, holding up two fingers. "One race, one winner, first across the line, no rules." LeBron nodded. Usain smirked. The air was electric. The countdown began. 3. LeBron bent lower this time, feet digging into the track. 2. Usain exhaled, his fingers twitching, ready to explode. 1. The crowd sucked in a collective breath. The whistle blew, and this time LeBron launched off the line like a man possessed. The final showdown had begun. The moment the whistle blew, LeBron didn't hesitate. He exploded forward, pushing his body harder than he ever had before. No ball, no dribbling, no tricks, just pure speed. And for the first time, Usain was caught off guard. LeBron's launch was perfect, a split second faster than before. His massive frame powered forward with terrifying force, each stride eating up the track. The crowd was in shock. Wait, is LeBron actually leading? For the first 20 meters, he was ahead, just barely. But then, Usain found his rhythm. His long, effortless strides kicked in, and like a machine shifting gears, he started to close the gap. 40 meters. LeBron was still fighting, muscles burning, heart pounding, but Usain was catching up. 60 meters. The stadium was pure chaos. It was closer than anyone expected, way closer. 80 meters. LeBron grit his teeth, pushing harder, but Usain was right there, neck and neck. And then the final push. 90 meters. The finish line was coming, fast. LeBron stretched. Usain leaned in. One last burst, one last stride. And then they crossed. A dead tie. Or was it? The stadium lost its mind. The officials huddled around the replay screen. The result would be revealed in seconds. But no matter who won, one thing was certain. This race would be remembered forever.